Welcome to the Business Happy Hour radio show with your host, Frank the Bank Cotto, president of Lincoln Lending Group and 813 Mortgage for 20 years right here in Tampa Bay. Joined by his incredible co-hosts, Rosa Vahidi and Senia Akishina, top producing real estate agents with Mahara and Associates. These three bring nearly 5 decades of experience in the local real estate market. If you're looking for real estate or business advice, no matter what your experience level, the Business Happy Hour team has been there for you for almost a decade right here on News Radio WFLA. Now sit back, relax, and get ready for some serious real estate and business talk with 3 of Tampa Bay's top experts. Here's Frank the Bank.
Hey, Tampa Bay, welcome back to the Business Happy Hour, your number one show for all things business and entrepreneurial. And today is no different. We have a great show for you guys today. It's just Senia and I, Frank the Bank Cotto, Lincoln Lending Group owner, and Senia Akishina, superstar realtor with Mahara and Associates, starting the show. How you doing, Senia?
Hello. Wonderful. Good to be here as always.
All right. It's going to be a great show. I just realized I need to turn down my volume over here on my Insta. Didn't realize that till it's too late. But yeah, it's going to be a great show. Senia brought an amazing guest for us today. You still getting an echo in yours a little bit? I think we might need to turn it down just a tad on one of ours. Anyway, it's going to be a really good show for you guys today. We have an awesome guest. A lot of times on the show, Senia and Rosa and I always joke when we say things like, man, I wish we had an attorney to answer that question. Senia heard our call and answered our call. We have David Rankin, the licensed attorney and the owner of American Patriot Title. How you doing, David?
I'm doing very well, thank you. Appreciate it.
All right. Well, thank you for coming on the show. We promise it'll be a fun one for you. You'll just have to follow along. You are a guest host, so you're welcome to chime in to anything that Senia and I are talking about. And when Rosa gets in, she's running just a couple minutes late. I'm sure she'll have some questions for you as well. But we've got some scenarios. Lots of crazy things have been going on. NAR settlement. We've been hearing about land fraud. We just did an auction. We had what was the other thing I said? Tax deed. Yeah, I actually had a tax deed bought out from under me, and I own a mortgage company for 20 years. So I know you can punch me when we get off the show here, but I need to learn about this a little bit. So we've got just. I don't know if David's ready for what we're about to throw at him, but he can also answer some questions about a title company. And one of the questions, since we really haven't had a title attorney on here, I don't think in at least a year, I'm gonna prep him, but I'm gonna a little bit later in the show, David. I'm gonna ask you just what the hell is title insurance, and why does anybody?
There you go.
Right? Because you have do you buyers sometimes?
Maybe that's the question we should start with.
I think
that is very important to our industry and any closings that we conduct.
It is, and it's just it's one of those things that you're required to have it. So we're going to find out what it is and why you're required to have it. But before we do that, we're going to talk a little bit about the market because there is some really exciting stuff going on. Matter of fact, the Fed meetings have already started. If you're watching Instagram right now, the Fed's...
That's right. It's the 17th.
I know. It's
okay.
17th, 18th. I don't know if we're going to get an answer today by 2 o'clock on what exactly is going to happen. Well, I'm going to do the little Google thing while you're chatting and doing some stats, and I'll see what I can find. But I think definitely by tomorrow. Now, important to know about the rates. I just had dinner with a guy on Saturday night, and he was talking about rates. And what a lot of people don't understand, you ever heard the term, it's baked in already, or it's kind of already included? Well, what that means, at least in the rate world, is that, or in the stock market world, is if there's some news that people are expecting, like they know that, let's say Tesla earnings, didn't do good and they're about to have a report. Well, sometimes the information's already out there. And so the movement has already happened in the market. Even though the official announcement hasn't happened. And everybody at least believes rates are going to be dropped by the Fed for the first time in almost 3 years today or tomorrow. So the market, to some degree, has already baked this in. And I think that's why we've been able to advertise for the last week that we actually have rates in the high 4s right now. A lot of people were not expecting to see that, especially if you're reading the old Google machine. Let me see what Google says. What are you hearing, Senia, when you're out there in the market right now and you're doing closings? David may be able to answer too. I doubt David sits down and does the closings himself anymore. But if you do, have you seen anything on the rates? Have you seen what they've been doing by chance?
I have not, but I can tell you that it's tomorrow afternoon at 2 o'clock, I think is when the Fed announces
Yes.
Whether it's a quarter point or half a point.
It is. You are correct. I just pulled that up. It is tomorrow at 2 o'clock. So if you're on Instagram, it's tomorrow. If you're listening Sunday morning to our radio show, then the news is already out there. You're going to have to Google it.
Yeah. But to your point, though, Frank, I mean, I get the news from you. So it's like, yes, this lingering, question, hey, are they dropping him and how much? But when the market is anticipating something, the change with the lenders, I mean, that typically happens a little sooner.
It does.
So if you've been waiting for the official news, call up your mortgage lender,
right?
Frank Cotto,
Frank the bank,
Lincoln Lending, and then find out what the actual rate is and what he can get you a mortgage for right now.
That's exactly right. And I'll tell you, if you Google the 30-year fixed mortgage rates, if you literally go to Google right now and just type in 30-year rates, it's going to tell you the 30-year fixed conventional is 6.9. Rosa, welcome to the show.
Hi there.
She's getting all set. Oh, nice shirt today.
Thank
That's
you.
cool.
Thank you.
She's very floral.
Yes.
She's getting set up. And the reason I pick on Rosa real quick while she's getting her Instagram on is because we have a client that, we may have a client.
We're working on it.
We're working on it. We're working on talking to a client, which sometimes, that's the way it goes, though.
It takes time sometimes.
Yeah.
And not everyone is quite ready. And you don't always want to put the pressure on them either. So I kind of work around their timeline, too.
Yeah, of course. And Rosa, and just like most realtors in Cenia, they know when the right timeline is, right? So she called me yesterday and she's like, that might be the right time. But I bring this up, Rosa, because you and I were chatting about rates yesterday. And if you do the old Google machine on the rates, it says the 30-year fixed is 6.921 on a a Fannie Mae loan. So that's...
So Fannie Mae is the conforming loan? Okay.
Yes.
And can you explain conforming and non-conforming?
Absolutely.
Please.
Look, she's quizzing me already today. So conforming means it conforms to Fannie Mae's guidelines, right? Meaning it can be what's called, people use the same term, conforming and conventional, right? Conventional is a Fannie Mae loan. It conforms to their guidelines. Non-conforming, basically, is kind of a new word. It's called non-QM, non-qualified mortgage. It means it's not qualified for conventional or government financing. When they use the word government, what they mean is usually FHA, VA, or USDA. Those are the three products that you could say are the government loans. But then people say, well, conventional loans in Fannie Mae, that's government-backed too. And they're right. But it's not exactly insured the same way. Like FHA and VA are basically insured by the government. So they're all kind of government. But here's exciting news. 30-year fixed FHA, according to the Google machine, is 6.14. 30-year fixed VA is 6.193. But yesterday, when Rosa and I were chatting, and you had a client that was, I think, talking to Navy Fed or one of these other companies, they were telling them mid-sixes, which is lower than what Google says.
And this is for an investment property that we were talking about to start.
Right? And now we're thinking primary, but the primary rate, I don't know if I told you this or not yesterday, we would be looking at around 5.625.
Wow.
For them on primary.
So their scores are they're strong.
High sevens.
They're in the high sevens, 800s.
Yep. So they're going to get a good rate.
And they own a home that is paid off. And so they're like, well, maybe we'll rent that out and then we'll buy a primary on the water to fit more of our lifestyle and what we need at this point in our life.
I think that's a really good idea for them. Not only do I think that, but the difference in their interest rate is going to be about 1%. That's a question that everybody asks is, what's the difference in investment or primary when it comes to rates? Well, two things. Down payment, you have to put down more down payment on investment. And two, the interest rate is always lower on a primary residence. So we're talking mid-fives compared to mid-sixes for investment to primary.
And then do you need to put that 20% down for those terms?
Great question. That's a really good question. Surprisingly, no.
Okay.
You can actually get, well, at least with Lincoln Lending. I can't answer everybody else. But
we don't know about everyone
I
else.
don't know. I just know you shouldn't call them. But you can put down as little as 5% on a conventional loan. Now, you're going to pay PMI, mortgage insurance, because you're only putting down 5%. But I can get somebody the exact same rate with 5% as I can with 20%.
Okay.
Now, if you start going 25 and 30%, you're going to get even lower. Like, we actually locked somebody at 5.25% on a 30-year fixed conventional last week with 25% down.
Do you remember what their monthly mortgage was around?
No, but I can tell you right
okay.
now.
Sorry to put you on the spot,
Put me on
Frank.
the spot. I love it. We use the old trusty mortgage calculator. It was a $500,000 loan amount, 30-year fixed at 5.25. Cost them, this is really good, $2,761 principal and interest.
Wow.
Yeah. And just to give you an example, when we were at 7.25, that same house would have cost them $3,440. All right, so that's
A
pretty
huge
Big difference, yeah.
No, it's like, what, $700 some dollars. I mean, that's like another $100,000 in purchase power. Right? There's really more than that. It's like 125. So the good news about the rates, government rates, FHA and VA right now, we just locked 4.875 with a 5.1 APR. And there's another loan that may get locked today at 4.75, 30-year fixed VA loan. So if you're a veteran, you guys have the lowest rates in the entire industry. If you're going FHA, just putting 3.5% down with even like a 650 credit score, you are around 5%. You might even be at 4.99. So we were talking before you walked in about how the rate cut's going to happen tomorrow at 2 o'clock.
Oh, okay.
But the reason we're seeing these rates so low right now is because the rate cut is expected. So it's baked in. The big question, and I'm going to ask our guest here, David Rankin, since he chimed in here. He knew the exact time of the Fed meeting. I was trying to look it up right when he was telling me. David, what do you expect? I know it's a crystal ball thing, but they've been talking they could either cut a quarter or a half point to the rate. What is your guess? What do you think is going to happen?
Well, it's like being on sports talk and recorded before the Sunday games, right? The program comes out after Sunday. My guess would be a half point, simply because there's some concern about the unemployment numbers. There are all kinds of factors that they consider, but it seems like one of the predominant factors they're looking at is the unemployment rates, and the unemployment rates are going up. The economy's cooling, and the Fed, one of their primary directives is to limit unemployment.
Right.
And when unemployment numbers go up, they are inclined to be a little bit more aggressive.
Yep, I totally agree with what David said. Matter of fact, if I was a betting man up until my dinner on Saturday night, I would have absolutely said a half a point. This guy at dinner basically looks at me and goes, Frank, you have to look at statistics. He goes, they haven't cut more at a half since they're in a non-emergency situation ever. And I'm like, okay, but I think it's an emergency. So anyway, quarter or half, we're going to find out. If you're listening Sunday, you already know the answer. We're going to take a quick break here on the Business Happy Hour. When we get back, we're going to do some stats with Cinia, and then we're going to talk to David Rankin, the attorney and owner of American Patriot Title, and we have some tough questions for him. So stay tuned to the Business Happy Hour.
Now we're back with some serious real estate and business talk with three of Tampa Bay's top experts. Your host of the Business Happy Hour, Frank the Bank Cotto, Rosa Fahidi, and Senia Akishna.
All right, Tampa Bay, welcome back to the Business Happy Hour. I hope you guys are having a good morning on Sunday morning. For all my Instagram viewers, like and share, send it out there so everybody can hear us and see us. We're going to be talking with David Rankin, our guest host today. He is an attorney for many years. He represents real estate agents in bad situations sometimes, and mortgage professionals as well. I didn't know this. Cynthia didn't tell me that. I would have come in here with all kinds of... So probably better that she didn't tell me ahead of time that you represented bad mortgage brokers here and there. But we do have some fun questions we're going to ask you about that. I'd like to go into our stats real quick with Cynthia. I'm curious, do we have anything exciting? I know we had the year over. She's always like, maybe.
Well, but my excitement comes when I get the new reports.
Yes, I know. And
but maybe next week. But you know what I did, though, is actually went on the National Association of Realtors website, and I decided to pull them for the whole country.
Ooh, we've never done this before.
We haven't. So I'm like, you know what, this will be interesting. And in the South, which does encompass, Florida, Georgia, Texas, all of our southern states.
Right.
And this is for the sales price for existing sales volume, again, year over year.
Right.
So let's just go from the $250,000 to $500,000 range. In the South, it is up 6%.
Oh.
The $500,000 to $750,000 price range up 7.9%.
Wow.
$750,000 to $1 million up 19.3%. And $1 million plus is up 21.6%.
Wow.
What?
So, I mean, I think that's pretty good. Of course, I have our local numbers here. So for Hillsborough County, we were up in July by about 5.4%.
Uh-huh.
Pinellas was down 1.5%, but they were the ones that were, so hot and heavy for so long.
Right.
And Pasco was up 6.4%.
Oh, my
God. So
God.
our local MSA were up about 4.5%.
So
and just closed sales. So this is not broken down by that price,
right,
range, but just sales in general.
Are you not blown away a little bit? I mean, maybe David is too, about the giant jump in the really expensive homes, up 20% in the higher $1 million homes?
That's been actually impressive. I mean, it used to be, a lot harder to sell, that expensive of a price point. And
that's my point.
That's grown a lot.
That is, I don't know. David, how long have you been in the business?
Too many years. I stopped counting after 3.
You stopped counting after how many? 3.
After
30.
30. Yeah, 30, yeah. Shoot, I'm at 24. And I probably should stop counting. But I find that really impressive. It's almost like, I hate to sound negative, but it's almost like that whole wealth gap thing that they talk about when things like this happen. Mm-hmm. It's almost like COVID created a bigger wealth gap or something.
Well, they're not
like
really, because I don't think they're as reliant on the rates. You know what I mean? If you've got that kind of money, then
that could be it.
Well, also the loan limits, they have been increasing throughout the past few years.
True.
So that might be another reason why.
And Rosa hit me with something yesterday. She's like, I see Fannie Mae's going up to like $802,000 or something. I'm like, Rosa, if you know something before me, I'm quitting. Right. So I had to look it up real quick. And there is talk that Fannie is going to raise the loan limits again. It would be over $800,000 for a conventional mortgage, which then usually FHA and VA follows suit. So that would be very interesting. But right now you're at $766. But that is a good point, Rosa, that when they allow people to borrow more money, it opens up people into a higher price point.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay. So, just one more number I want to mention, too. So this is for month's supply of inventory. So I know we've been talking about that growing, but this still shows that, there's still a shortage of housing that's available. So in 2023, in June, it was 2.9 months supply, and July was three months.
Okay.
So now this year, not a huge difference. So June was 3.8 and July 3.6. And as we talked before, like the official, equilibrium was like the 6 months.
Right.
So I think that just shows that across the country, there is still that inventory shortage. We do need more homes on the market.
We do.
So where is the supply numbers is that Hillsborough
So
County?
I was telling them, this is actually, I pulled this from the National Association of Realtors website. So this is countrywide.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
So this isn't just our local market.
Yeah.
It's not, but I mean, our numbers are close. So in Hillsborough, our month supply is 3.4 months.
Right.
Pinellas 3.8 and Pasco 3.4. So right around
might have
that.
gone up a tiny
July,
bit
Yeah.
in our local.
3.6
Sounds like
is,
it.
yeah.
Yeah.
Since the last time you updated
I'm going
us.
to put you on the spot. You probably don't have the numbers for the north, do you? Since you said the south.
You know what? I do.
Oh, yes.
Oh, she has the
I
north.
actually do. So they break up the north. It's northeast.
Okay. Let's go northeast. I'm curious because I hear a lot of people are moving from there in the last couple of years. So let's see how that goes.
Okay, so I guess with the price points, but I mean their closed sales 6.9% up for that $250,000 to $500,000 range, almost 20% in the $500,000 to $750,000 range, and I'll just skip to the $1 million or more, almost 33%.
What?
Is this an increase in population? Because I feel like they're coming here, but it sounds like they're definitely buying there too.
That's crazy.
I think the Northwest and Midwest markets are, doing a little bit
Wait,
better.
that was
than
Northwest or Northeast?
Northeast.
Oh.
So they don't have they have a Northeast, Midwest.
Well, there's like 17 people
South,
who live in the
and just
Northwest.
West.
So it's like Dakota has 4 of them. I think Oregon's has like 25 of them.
But overall in the U.S., so if you take all of those
Yeah.
regions, 6.6% for that lower bracket, 12.1% increase, then 19%, and then 26.5% increase for the $1 million plus.
This is crazy. This is probably some of the craziest stats you've ever brought to us.
Yeah.
We're
Those
gonna
are
be-
great. Thank
yeah,
you.
We are, and we're gonna be. We'll talk about that next week. I'm not sure if do we have a guest for next week?
We do.
We do.
Yes.
Who is it? Let's tease that.
So I'm going to bring him on. Hold on. I have to
Yeah.
pull up his site.
It's
Sorry.
okay. Pull it up, and then I'm going to start. We're start drilling David over here. We're figure out all kinds of stuff. So remember, our guest today is David Rankin. He's the attorney and also the owner of American Patriot Title. The website AmericanPatriotTitle.net. We're when we probably do it when we get back from the break. Cynia has a great question about what the heck is title insurance that we're going to ask David. We're going to start there, and then we've got a bunch of other awesome stuff. Now, I do want to mention David is the preferred title agency from Mahar and Associates and has worked with you guys for a decade. It sounds like. Is that about right?
Well, at least. I mean, that's when I started there, and I mean, I knew David. That was one of my first introductions.
Yeah,
That's right.
If you're running with Ray, we got to be doing something right because he definitely.
I'm telling you, it's been doing something right for about 15, 20 years.
All right.
Oh, yeah.
Man, I love it. I love it. So we love Ray, and he had just a great team over at Mahar and Associates. By the way, if they need to find a realtor, what's the best way to do that?
You go to therealdealtampa.com or give us a call at 813-755-REAL.
That's it. 813-755-REAL. They love that phone number, 755-REAL. And you can always go to contactfrankthebank.com, fill out a quick form, and I will give you a buzz. That's contactfrankthebank.com. And when we get back, Rosa will tell us who our guest is for next week. And we'll have more with David Rankin from American Patriot Title. Stay tuned to the Business Happy Hour. We'll be right back.
Welcome to the Business Happy Hour radio show with your host, Frank the Bank Cotto, president of Lincoln Lending Group and 813 Mortgage for 20 years right here in Tampa Bay. Joined by his incredible co-hosts, Rosa Vahidi and Cynia Akishina, top producing real estate agents with Mahara and Associates. These three bring nearly 5 decades of experience in the local real estate market. If you're looking for real estate or business advice, no matter what your experience level, the Business Happy Hour team has been there for you for almost a decade right here on News Radio WFLA. Now sit back, relax, and get ready for some serious real estate and business talk with 3 of Tampa Bay's top experts. Here's Frank the Bank.
Hey, Tampa Bay. Whoa, knocked my microphone off over there. We're over here liking, sharing my own show, sending it out there for all you guys to check out. Instagram, Facebook. Check us out. If you're on MySpace, you're on the wrong spot. Rosa, your little thing keeps spinning over there.
Oh, because I have our guest website up for next week, so I could tell you a little bit about it.
Well, let's tease it. Apparently, we have a guest next week, so who is it?
So we have the owner of Ready Care Physical, Occupational, and Aquatic Therapy coming.
Wow.
So he owns multiple locations in New York, and he also has a condo here in Clearwater. And I happened to meet him at a coffee shop and talk with him and his daughter. He's friends with Heather Tapia that we had on.
Nice.
So he was like, I would love to be on your show. So he's a very successful business owner and does own a few pieces of property, it sounds like.
Well, this happens to be the business happy hour.
Yes.
So we'll probably figure that out. So get your camera up there.
Okay.
So, by the way, quick shout out. I was listening to Ryan Gorman's show the other day, and they did this couples heart and lung scan thing from this company. I'm going to pull it up because I have terrible memory sometimes. I can't remember. Craft Body Scans. Thank you, James. And I went with my wife the other day, and we got a Craft body scan. We actually upgraded from the heart and lung and did full body scans and bought a package with them as well. So I'm in this little mode here where I just had my whole body scanned, and in 5 days I'm about to find out if I'm healthy or if I'm dying.
Oh, so, good. That's good.
So good. It's like one of the, I mean, nobody probably knows what this is like, but it's like back in the day if you go get an AIDS test, and then they're going to tell you, we'll tell you in 3 days.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, these are going to be 3 good days right here. So anyway, that's where I am right now. We'll let you guys know how my Craft body scan went next week, but they were really cool and really awesome. So shout out to Craft body scan. Ladies.
Okay, well, yes, so I would like to reintroduce Mr. David Rankin. Yes, he's been a great friend and resource for Mahara and Associates. So really love just having you because people run into issues. Agents run into issues. Our clients run into issues. And it's always good to be able to have that legal advice when those issues come up.
Oh, yes.
And issues run into them.
Yes.
I love the sense of humor. You're a fun guy to hang out with. So I'm really glad you were able to come. But before we get into, I guess, what is title insurance? Because you know what? People need to know that. I think most do. But if you've never bought a home, you might be clueless. Tell us a little bit about your background.
I am an attorney, but practiced for more than 30 years.
Are you from here?
My father was in the Air Force, so I'm from a lot of different places. We talked a little bit earlier about Florida State. I've claimed Tallahassee as my home. It shortened a lot of conversations. People would ask, where are you from? And I would simply say, I'm from Tallahassee, but that would shorten the... Yeah. I went to about 9 or 10 different schools growing up, so moved around quite a bit.
Okay, all right. Well, how did you get into law?
Oh, sorry.
Oh, no, that's okay.
Why did you move so much?
My father was in the Air Force.
Military, yeah.
We would just about every spring we'd get news that, hey, we're moving.
I had no idea. So hence American Patriot title.
American Patriot title, and I graduated from high school in Bogota, Colombia.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Okay. It just happened to be where we were at the time.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
What got you into law? So, I mean, with that kind of background.
I was in senior year of college, and I, like a lot of other people, I didn't know what I wanted to do. And my uncle and brother-in-law were attorneys. Seemed interesting, and it also delayed my parents asking me what was I going to do with my life. So I went to law school and found something I enjoyed doing.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you're still doing it, so I'm guessing you're still enjoying it.
I am.
So you went from being an attorney, and all of a sudden you're like, well, I'm going to do title, right? What the heck is title? Why? I'm just curious. I'm going to put you on the spot here, David. But why does somebody need title on their house? Why does everybody have to go to your office when they close a loan and get this title insurance policy?
Well, the vast majority of the transactions are financed, and lenders, of course, want some security. Want to make sure that they're getting paid, and they don't want any title issues. So a title issue, without getting too far into the weeds, in our system of government property sales, that kind of business, in order to have a claim on the property, general rule is you have to record some kind of an instrument, some kind of a document in the official records. And so essentially what title work is a search of the official records to see what, if any, issues, disputes are the owner has notice of, and to resolve if there are any kind of outstanding disputes that we have notice of. If there are any debts or judgments on the title that have been recorded, then those are resolved so that when you buy a property, you become the owner, that you have, I guess it's one way of having even less excitement. Imagine that. Nobody wants excitement with the ownership of their property after they've closed.
So I have a question for buyers. How do they know what is an accredited title company, or what should they look for when shopping for a title company if they were trying to do a transaction, let's say by themselves, and there wasn't maybe a realtor on the seller side?
I understand. So the general rule is that you cannot operate as a title company unless you're licensed with the state of Florida. Another protection to some extent is that you have to have a relationship with a national title insurer. And we have a relationship with Fidelity National and Chicago Title. And the other thing is, do research. I mean, there are a lot of title companies that are there. I'm certainly not going to disparage anybody, but I think there's an advantage to having done business with a title company that's owned by an attorney or has an attorney on staff, simply because you get more protection. In other words, if there is an issue, you don't have to engage an attorney outside the transaction. You immediately have an attorney available as part of the transaction, and you can quickly have a conversation with that attorney and get have an understanding what the issue is, how it gets resolved, and get it resolved a little quicker.
Great.
That is good. So one thing that I always hear come up, I hope I don't steal one of your questions, girls.
You're stealing one of our questions.
I am.
We know it.
I am. Wire fraud.
Yes.
That is a word that keeps coming up in the mortgage side, the title side. I mean, I'm sure even the real estate side, from escrow deposits to final closing costs. I mean, people are wiring hundreds of thousands of dollars, and you actually hear these horror stories about when people wire their money to the title company and somebody kind of gets in the middle and they give wiring instructions, and all of a sudden your $400,000 for your closing is in Kuala Lumpur or something like that. How does that work? What can we do about wire fraud?
And you did steal my questions. This is something that I get a little paranoid about, especially nowadays because fraud is on the rise. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So yes, tell us.
Let me say this. That the concern, and there are agents that come to us, there are people come to us and say, well, we're not going to wire any money. We know we're going to lose it. It's rare that a title company loses money by wiring it. If you know what the proper protocol is, you're aware of what's going on, you've educated yourself, and you follow the protocol, you'll never lose any money. So what we have to start with is the fact that there are what I'll call fraudsters who are sitting on the internet, camped out. They have algorithms and whatever, but they are tuned into real estate transactions. And they know that there are emails being traded back and forth between buyers, their agents, sellers, their agents, and they know at sometime this is going to culminate in the transfer of a lot of money. So what they do is they time their intervention, and what they do a lot of times they substitute themselves for the title company or the attorney's office. And what they do is without being aware of it, you'll see, if you are looking for it, you'll see an email that does not exactly match the title. Okay, so what happens is they say, okay, you need to wire your money, and then people who aren't aware, not looking for this, they'll wire the funds, and the money will be gone. Couple real quick stories. One is there was a 1031 exchange company. I represented a buyer whose money was with the 1031 exchange company, $165,000. The 1031 exchange company was hit by one of these. In other words, somebody came, just took the place of the title company.
Spoofed the email.
Yes, and they substituted themselves for the title company. The 1031 exchange company looked at the wire instructions for this supposed title company. They wired the funds to the title company, and the money was lost. So another situation, a title company was supposed to send the proceeds of a sale in South Tampa. That title company was going to do a closing. The seller in that transaction in the afternoon was coming to our title company and doing a purchase with that money. It was $360,000. The title company, we sent them an email and said, hey, we on this date we're going to be here are our wiring instructions, but we're going to call and we're going to verbally confirm what our wiring instructions are. My staff called and said, "Hey, we want to wire. We want to confirm what our wiring instructions are." The person said, "Hey, we got it all teed up. We're going to send it." I said, "No, you can't do that. We have to confirm what they are." Long story short, they were just about to hit send, and they within their system had been hacked by a fraudster. They were about to wire $360,000. And it would not have been received by us. It would have been received by a bank, and the fraudster typically transfers the funds from that initial bank to overseas, and the money is gone. So the proper protocol is this, and I know people worry. There are a lot of agents, experienced agents, who've come to us and say, "Well, how can you be so sure?"
Here, actually, hold that thought because that's a great tease because we have to take a quick commercial break, and when we get back, we're going to tell you what is the proper protocol to not lose your $360,000, your $170,000, your $400,000, or your $1 million when you're doing a transaction and you are unsure if you're sending to the right title company. David Rankin with AmericanPatriotTitle.net is going to tell you the proper protocol as soon as we get back right here on the Business Happy Hour. Stay tuned.
Now we're back with some serious real estate and business talk with three of Tampa Bay's top experts. Your host of the Business Happy Hour, Frank the Bank Cotto, Rosa Fahidi, and Senia Akishna.
All right, Tampa Bay, welcome back to the Business Happy Hour. This is a great show. When you are Instagram, you get to see everything. You get to see all the behind the scenes. And yes, I did wash my hands. Anyway, we were in studio with David Rankin, the attorney for American Patriot Title, the website AmericanPatriotTitle.net. He has a lot of testimonials on here. You definitely got to check it out. It's making me very jealous. Now I know what I have to go back and do. But Senia, let's take it back to the question we were asking David before we had to take a break.
Well, yeah, just to wrap it up, because I do think this is such an important thing, and we just had a closing yesterday, and the funds were coming from a trust and then personal funds from the buyer, so essentially a cash sale. And the buyers were just like, oh, what are the wiring instructions? And they asked a few times, and every single time I'm like, you need to go directly to the title company and confirm it that way. I don't want to be in any shape or form involved in conveying those. But using a great title company like American Patriot Title will also help circumvent these, because the girls will remind you, exactly what needs to be done. So please reach out to David Rankin and his wonderful staff at AmericanPatriotTitle.net.
That's it. David, is that the best way to avoid the wire fraud is, besides working with AmericanPatriotTitle.net, it's actually verifying the wiring instructions.
Voice verify. And the step before that is there these emails that you get will have a signature block, and they'll have phone numbers. And so if you simply call, if you just lose your mind for a moment and you just call the number in the email, then all you're doing is falling into that pit. Mm-hmm. So what you have to do, independent of that email, you have to verify go online and from more than one source. You might call your agent, but just from more than one source, verify what the actual title company's phone number is. Don't just accept the fact that the one in the email to you, because that's could be from the fraudster. So independently, you verify the phone number, and then you go a little more old school. You call and voice verify. You have your wiring instructions, which are you can find them on the bottom of your checks, but you have your routing number and your account number. And you make sure that when you voice verify exactly what your routing number and account number is for the title company, and then you'll be certain that the funds will go to where they're supposed to go. It's the people who don't follow that protocol who become the victims.
Yeah.
So again, don't even call the number from a particularly, fraudulent email.
No.
Sometimes you never know. They look really good.
Yep.
Make sure you are calling the title company yourself directly. It is the actual title company's number,
Mm-hmm.
and then have the conversation with the actual source.
So actually, I talked to an attorney who represented a 1031 exchange company. All they do all day long is real estate transactions, wiring large amounts of money, and they had been victimized, and my client's money was lost. And so I asked the attorney, did they voice verify? And the attorney said, David, I knew you were going to ask that, but they called, and they're hitting themselves over their head now, because they called the phone number that was in the email.
Mm.
Yep. And then, trust me, they have somebody on the other line ready to answer your call and accept your $360,000 to Pakistan. So make sure you independently verify. And I love what you say, Senia, because we say the same thing. Call the title company, independently Google them. And the big thing is, wherever they sent their initial escrow, hopefully that $2,000 or $3,000 got through. And if it did, that's probably the documentation I would be looking at to resend my money.
So, and us as realtors, so we will verify that the escrow has been received. And then that's one form of verification. And then, like you said, David, also verifying with us as realtors when we're representing a buyer or a seller, hey, is this the company's number? And we can also check that. But we're not involved in verifying the instructions for the wire transfer either. So
one thing Lincoln Lending did was we created our own set of disclosures. And the most important one, the one on top, is a giant, big, bold letter that says, wire fraud is real. Read this. And we say everything that you guys said there, independently verified, don't accept emails, make sure you make 2 phone calls. And it basically says, if you don't do this stuff, it is your problem. Don't be stupid. And we've caught them. just like you. We have caught people, and I've also seen people. We have seen a title company, which was not American Patriot Title, and by the way, it's AmericanPatriotTitle.net. We had them get spoofed, and they wired money to a fake lender payoff account. $220,000 gone like Donkey Kong.
Yikes.
Never came back. Nothing anybody could do. And boy, let me tell you, they tried to go after everybody, and in the end, it was funny, not funny, but it was the title company who broke their own rules and did not call to verify. And it's very sad. And I don't know if the E&O insurance would even save you in something like that. I'm really not sure. But we don't have a lot of time left. So I do want to make sure everybody sees these testimonials. It's got my friend Bob McDougall on the top left video on the bottom of his page. The testimonials on AmericanPatriotTitle.net. That's where David wants you to go. I know you also represent realtors. So if realtors or mortgage people are in any type of not fraud, but let's say like complaint situations or something, would they just call you directly?
Yes. Anytime anybody has a complaint filed against their license, I've probably represented 350 to 400 brokers and sales associates in front of the Florida Real Estate Commission.
Nice.
What other things do you specialize in then in law, so we know if we have a problem or no problem to call you or not?
Well, I would say real estate transactions, and then what's called administrative law, which is any form of license, whether it's a mortgage broker, dentist, veterinarian, anybody files, or CPAs, anybody files a complaint against their license, then that's what I do. That's administrative law. It's not, you don't go to the courthouse. It's administrative hearings, and you go in front of the different agencies, Real Estate Commission, Florida Board of Accountancy, those kind of
OFR.
forms.
Stuff like that. The
OFR,
yeah.
yes. Yes, OFR, just they don't have a sense of humor.
No. I know Greg Oaks pretty well, and he's a nice guy, but they don't have a sense of humor when you have a case in front of you. That's for sure. We got less than a minute left. What else? I really wanted to ask David about tax deed sales. I mean, can you? It's not enough time probably to get the answer, so I'm just going to get a video with you real quick afterwards, and we'll put it on the Instagram and social media because I had a tax deed bought out from under me. I'm so embarrassed to say this. I'll just say it in front of like 40,000 people. But yeah, so I got to figure out how that happened and find out the real rules on it. But maybe we can just have David back on the show. Yeah. Would be great. And we can ask him some of these legal questions.
So your handle for Instagram is Frank?
Oh, yeah. It's what is it? Frank the Bank Kodo. It is Frank the Bank Kodo. So check out that. The ladies, therealdealtampa.com.
And then my Instagram is Rosa Loves Florida, ROZA.
Beautiful. And Senia?
Well, our phone number is 813-755-REAL.
Beautiful. 755-REAL. And don't forget AmericanPatriotTitle.net. Check out the videos, and we'll see you guys next week. Thank you, David, for coming on.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.